Hey there, Megan Jansen with Employee Wellness Solutions Network. I'm still on this year-long mission and talking to as many people as I possibly can to keep this ball rolling. We're talking about employee and corporate wellness, prevention. We're talking to so many wonderful, insightful people, and today's no different. Today I have the honor of speaking with a very busy lady, Cynthia Hastings-James, co-founder of Best Life Rewarded. Cynthia, thank you so much for taking a few minutes out of your very busy day and spend with me.
Oh, thank you so much. My pleasure. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. So let's get right into this. Employee wellness, corporate wellness is a passion of ours and yours as well. Share with me a bit of the whole idea of investing in prevention. This is now, I find, much more relevant to today's world with so many people ill. How do we really look at that as an investment in prevention? Let's start with that.
Yeah, it's a great point, and we've had a lot of, I think, challenges in sort of rolling a rock uphill related to not only our systems, but employers really get stuck in this game of paying for sick care. So really waiting for that employee to, unfortunately, be down a path toward diabetes or heart disease or other devastating conditions. And really, the whole reason we founded this business was to try to get ahead of that curve. And given the way investment is made today, in some ways that was really challenging to convince both systems as well as employers to really focus on prevention, because as we all know in health, unfortunately, there's no immediate return or no instant gratification necessarily. So we really wanted to take a strategic approach to quantifying the economic burden of unhealthy employees, as well as looking at what some small changes might do in terms of contributing dollars back into the budget or back into the economy at large. So we've developed a number of tools and really tried to focus on creating that business case around prevention, because in fact, we can actually see a return on investment in a very short time frame. And in some cases, it's within a year. We're seeing tens of thousands, if not millions of dollars for large employers by just doing a little tiny change like a 1% risk reduction.
That's amazing. And that's such a big difference, for those larger employers. What about the smaller ones? Do you see similar returns with the preventative focus?
There is, for sure. I mean, some of the big challenges with small employers especially is, if someone goes off on, disability, they take a massive hit if you're a small employer. If one team member can make a gigantic difference. So what we're really trying to do is encourage a more personalized, well-rounded approach to looking at well-being of employees. So that might take into account physical, financial, mental well-being, social connectedness. It really is a targeted approach for individuals. So whether you're small or a large company, prevention is a really, really important focus area.
I also find that with a preventative focus of programming at the workplace, coupled with the reactive measures as well, that bookending does seem to help the most people. Would you agree?
I do, for sure. I think, for sure, optimized care is critical, and ensuring people are getting access to those right resources should they have a challenge with their health. We just want to, when you look at it purely even from an economic standpoint, we want to just try to get ahead of that curve so that, yes, absolutely, if someone has a condition or a disease that we need to manage effectively, that we want to have the right tools. But I think more importantly, as we think to the future, is how do we get ahead of this curve so we're really taking a dent in those numbers of the prevalence across all of those risk areas and diseases.
I love that. If we were to also take a look at some of the psychology behind actually changing behaviors and adopting healthy habits and being motivated to live our best lives, what would you say to that? Is how can we have that idea of personal behavior change and individualized programming versus that cookie cutter approach? Because back in the day, it used to be that broad stroke approach to wellness, and now we're talking differently.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And really what we've looked at in the past in more traditional based programs is more of a cookie cutter health library, like come onto our website and try to find some content that's relevant to you. But what we've realized from scanning all the literature and all the best practices, that really that personalized approach that focuses beyond just a person's lifestyle or their family history. So looking at things like stage of change is widely used. We use things like conviction confidence modeling as well as propensity to adhere, really looking at individual motivators, because at the end of the day, we could have a area like a risk factor such as exercise. When we look at all our stats across all of Canada for our different platforms, we've got sort of 70%-ish that are not meeting the Health Canada guidelines for physical activity. But when we look at the numbers around motivation related to that, unfortunately that group is not super motivated to make a change related to their physical inactivity. But when we look at an area that maybe has a slightly lower prevalence, like sleep or stress management, maybe it's only impacting 50 or 60%, still a large number. But those individuals in that segment, the population within that risk factor, is highly motivated to make a change. So when we can identify those individuals that are essentially putting their hand up and saying, this is important to me, but I just don't know how to change it, that's where we really want to focus our efforts and our resources, because we know that we'll see the biggest movement to reduce that risk amongst that group in particular.
Well said. And I often share, you've got this spectrum or continuum of people in any workplace. You have the Boston Marathoners on one side, you have the folks that haven't seen a doctor in 10 years, and you have everyone in between. You're talking about that group of really that are ready to make some changes, that are aware, ready to take that step. Not that we want to necessarily not focus on the healthy, because we want to keep the healthy as well, but really focusing on that large percentage of the population. That does drive your best engagement, right?
You're absolutely right. And, it's not that we want to ignore those marathon runners, because they're doing the right thing. So we want to reinforce that positive behavior. But one of the biggest limiting factors with wellness programs in the past is that all the people that we really do want to engage, so that, the couch potatoes or multiple risk factors, they're not the ones that are coming and linking onto a website and proactively seeking out materials. So that's why when we bundle all these behavioral models together, one of the important ones is rewards. So we use this rewards-based approach not as the driver over the long term, because we know the evidence demonstrates that rewards, the novelty factor falls off if you use those as just a standalone thing. But what rewards do is get everyone at least to the table, or most people to the table right out of the start, because there's cash there, like there's money to be had. So it's the great equalizer. And then not everyone, there's no silver bullet, unfortunately, not everyone will engage over the long term, but what we're seeing is by combining the rewards-based approach with the personalization and understanding people's motivators, that we're seeing sustained engagement over the long term and double-digit risk reduction even amongst those high-risk populations. So it's very encouraging when you combine proven models to actually see that there's a tangible return for that investment.
Amazing. You're doing some pretty amazing work. So it's great learning about it and in your thoughts and philosophies behind it. It's similar language for sure. As we tie up our discussion, Cynthia, any final thoughts you'd like to share?
Well, I'm loving seeing what's happening out there in the market. We're seeing lots of integration so that it becomes really convenient for employees to access all the great resources available to them. There's lots of employers that are investing in some great initiatives, even more grassroots things like doing walks at lunch or having teams come together and participate in challenges. So that's super encouraging, is seeing that level of integration and creating that convenience factor for individuals. We've created some tools. So one that might be of interest for your listeners is something called healthy-economics.com. And that is actually a free tool that quantifies the cost of doing nothing. So you can put in your employee-based numbers and percent split male-female, and then provinces or national, and actually get the cost of doing nothing versus the potential savings if you reduce anywhere from 1% to 5%. So that's a great resource, free for anyone to use. You don't need to put an email address in there or anything like that. It's healthy-economics.com. So that might be a great tool to have people understand that immediate return for investing in prevention.
Amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your time today. Great learning about more about your organization and all the great work you're doing. Thanks so much, Cynthia.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.